Those who celebrate Easter, I hope you had a very nice day. Joni, where am I? Oh, let's go up to the... Did that not go on? It didn't go on. From the time that I hit and saw that it was on, it wasn't on. Hello, everybody. It is March 31, 2024. For those of you who celebrate Easter, I hope you had a very nice day. And for everybody else, I hope you had a nice day as well. Lindy London, Alicia DeMoss, Christy Hazelwood, hello. Sherry Hughes, thank you. Analog Synth Player, hello. And Sabanora, hello. Andrew Cruz, Donna Davidson, and Cecilia Amarati, Joni, hey, GT. Is this buffering already? Excellent connection. Why am I seeing... Oh, great. Great. I don't know if we're going to get through. The internet here has been... It has turned into a pretty big frustration. And I'm really tired of it. Really tired. So... But GT, Philadelphian, hey, nice to see you. Super Painting 62. Crazy Pots, Something to Chew On. Oracle 11 Larson. Moonlight Sonata. Hi. Silent Walker. Hello, Hypocrites Matrix, Rick Yorkin, Trent Robb, Denise Martinez, Agnes, Tom. Hi. Feminine. Hello. Well, I hope we can get through this. So I do have important information to share with you. A United Nations document that I'm not entirely sure is a valid, legit document, but reading it, I have to say, maybe the details are a little bit different, but this is the direction that we are heading in, for sure. Crowd sees what you won't. Hi, George. No. We're not celebrating that. So, the fires in our country are very big, very huge, very destructive, and they're ongoing. They don't seem to be ending. This was a Brooklyn church today. A fire rips through it. Congregation told to run out.
Joining us, I'm Jessica Moore. Firefighters are still on scene at the church in Williamsburg hours after it started. You can see heavy smoke pouring from Our Lady of the Rosary of Pompeii as parishioners gathered to celebrate the Easter holiday. CBS 2's Naveen Dhaliwal is there live with the breaking details. Naveen?
A very active scene here, Jessica. It's been about 4 hours since this fire started, and firefighters are here battling this fire. You can see them still dousing the building with water from above of those ladder trucks. Now, right now, fire officials confirm 5 people have minor injuries, and this was a fierce fire. You're looking at very heavy flames coming out of the Our Lady of the Rosary Pompeii Church this afternoon here on Siegel Street. An employee of the church tells us that about 1 p.m. Easter Mass was underway with around 150 people when smoke began to fill the building. It was heavy and it was fast. Immediately, the congregation was rushed out of the building as the fire spread. Firefighters again have been dousing this building with water, trying to get this fire under control. Now, this church is a staple of this community, I've been told by those who live here in Williamsburg. Many have attended it for decades, having celebrations and holidays. One man, Salvador Gonzalez, has been coming here for 60 years, and now he works here, and he describes the moment he saw the flames.
I get scared, and I try to get out, take it out, everybody out. Get out, get out, get out. It's tremendous. This is my church for a long time, you know. Anything, you know, I'm part of the church. Too much. I can't, and this is too much to me.
And you're looking at live pictures at 6:01 p.m. You can see the 3 ladder trucks dousing the building from the top, from the roof, with water, trying to get that fire under control.
It really is remarkable how huge these fires are, taking over massive buildings, apartment complexes. This is really pissing me off now. It's really getting to me. It's really pissing me off. Fuck. Do I go on? Can you hear me? No one's answering. I can't. This is so... Okay, so everybody is just being buffered now? No one can hear me? Made a big mistake moving here. Holy shit, did I make a big mistake. I don't believe it. I don't believe this. You can hear me. Thank you, Analog Synth Player. I appreciate you answering. Alright, another huge, massive structure fire in California.
Talked to fire officials just moments ago who confirmed that the fire is out, and they said that overall some good news to report here is that no one was hurt from this fire, but
apartment complex destroying several homes. Thank you for joining us. I'm Kathy Vara.
And I'm Jonathan Gonzalez. That apartment fire in Lomita triggered a massive response from firefighters as crews rushed to try to get control of the flames. Many families were forced to evacuate.
That scene still very active right now. NBC4's Christian Kaiser is live in Lomita with efforts to put out the fire. Christian.
That's right. I can tell you LA County Fire tells me their biggest challenge in battling this fire was the multiple units right next to each other. And as you mentioned, a very active scene here, as you can see here behind me. I can tell you 150 firefighters responded to this fire, a massive effort here to help fight this blaze as neighbors were standing back in the rain, hoping their home would be standing after the fire is out. A Lomita apartment complex in flames Saturday night, while families fear the worst from across the street.
And I'm just afraid to even go back in there, and see the damage that's been done.
Joanna Jones-Reed has been living at the Vista Verde apartment complex on Palos Verdes Drive near Western for years, but says when she noticed something strange coming from a few doors down the hall, she panicked.
And the smoke is coming out like crazy because the attic caught on fire. The fire spread through the top of the units. So I don't know if it went down into the inside.
LA County Fire quickly responded to the structure fire just before 7 p.m.
Going to have a difficult situation with multi-unit dwellings with shared walls and shared roofs because it's that much easier to spread onto from one unit to another room.
But when units arrived, they said heavy smoke and fire was coming from several units. 150 firefighters were called to the second alarm fire, which quickly was elevated to a third alarm, meaning more resources were needed.
Look at how many fire trucks are here. Like enough for 2 cities, and it's 25 units that are here. So people are in shock. We're in shock.
More people losing their homes. More people losing their homes. Maui facing suicides and exodus amidst housing struggle.
Governor Green announced yesterday that he's backed down from a moratorium on short-term rentals in Maui County. Community organizers are now focused on legislation that would give power to the counties to phase out high-priced vacation homes. Bryce Moore reports.
The Lahaina Strong community group gathered at the Capitol today, saying they know a moratorium is no longer needed since displaced families have started to trickle into more permanent housing.
We still need to tackle this short-term rental issue because the short-term rental industry has exacerbated the housing market and made it way too expensive for anybody to even afford a family home here in Hawaii.
Organizers are now highlighting legislation to give counties the power to gradually phase out short-term rentals.
Giving counties the clear authority to phase out vacation rental uses is a key tool for helping Maui residents find adequate rental housing in the wake of the wildfires.
Representative Ellie Cochran adds for some residents still without long-term housing, cutting the red tape to find it is simply too much. Organizers say 60% of Native Hawaiians in West Maui affected by the fire have left the island.
Every time they get a different case manager, they have to retell their story. They have to get this paper, get it signed, go back. I mean, it's just been nonstop. We're almost 9 months in and we haven't still built a home. A friend of mine committed suicide. There's deaths. And it is sad to have people move off, but it's even sadder when people are killing themselves. And nobody's saying that.
Some new help is available. The Office of Hawaiian Affairs announcing one-time grants for Native Hawaiians affected by the fires, $9,000 to eligible homeowners and $4,000 to eligible renters.
People worry if things are forgotten, if Lahaina is forgotten. This is a reminder for our community that help is there.
Aside from the grant program and short-term rental legislation moving through the ledge, the state announced today it's acquired a former hotel in Kihei with 175 guest rooms to be used initially as temporary housing for the displaced and eventually repurposed as a teacher and workforce rental housing project, opening up to wildfire survivors in early May. Bryce Moore, KH.
I'm sorry. 4,000 for renters. 9,000 for homeowners. You know how, well, Hawaii and the inflation in Hawaii at the expense, just living expenses is so high. It has been high and now it's only higher. So, sorry, still not good enough. Especially when we know that that fire was a due fire. So I'm just going to read one paragraph of this. Oh, say, can you see? Can you see? Who is not impressed seeing the sudden and total collapse of the Francis Scott Key Bridge after getting its pylon bonked by the container ship Dolly? a few hours before the dawn's early light in Baltimore Harbor, in America's ongoing death of 1,000 cuts. That one literally severed a major artery, but it may take a while to know how badly the wounded Colossus known as the United States of America is bleeding out as I speak. We are bleeding out badly. But if you want to read the entire article, I'll post a link. There you go. Get this fucking banner off here. I'm tired of paying money, being told that I'm going to get something, and I don't get it. So, this was sent to me by a woman who's very concerned about what is taking place. And prior to reading some of this article, I want to read what she sent me. For years, I've been encouraging folks not to live down slope of reservoirs. Reservoirs are deadly toxic cauldrons of forever chemicals, intentional poisoning. Don't we know it? Help get this out, as most reservoirs are to be removed. There is no water delivery system to replace dam removals. Certainly a method of forced relocation, land without water. And she sent me the link to this article. Siskiyou County Board declares state of emergency over Klamath River Dam removal project. Disaster. State of emergency. Look at what's happening. Okay. River of the year contaminated with lead and aluminum and arsenic and other toxins found in Klamath River sediments and water. And I apologize for any mispronunciations. I am very tired, but I've never been good on, for some reason, I don't know why. There's got to be a spot in the brain, that activates pronunciation of names. And I wish I could just blame the stroke I had, but I can't, because that was happening before. Anyway, March 5th, Siskiyou County Health Department advisory warning that people should not enter the Klamath River or drink the water. This was their advisory. Residents should not be in or drink water from the Klamath River due to high levels of arsenic, lead, and aluminum. And their county environmental health said that activists favoring dam removal seem to be hypnotically willing to look past any and all unintended adverse effects or adverse impacts that have unfolded and are further unfolding. Just the day before the Board of Supervisors meeting, an adult beaver was found dead 4 miles below Iron Gate Dam. For those of you who don't know where this is California. So there are people who aren't in the country. I just thought of that. I should say that. This is California. An adult beaver found dead. Adding to the huge and mounting death toll on native species, aquatic and terrestrial animals as a result of the released polluted sediments from the removal of the dam. February 27, 2024, California Department of Fish and Wildlife dumped 850,000 fall-run Chinook salmon fry into the Klamath River via its tributary Fall Creek, which is about 10 miles upriver from the Iron Gate Dam. A few days later, the department admitted all of those fish died. A few days later, all of those fish died. So a study done in 2006 by Gethard Engineering Consultants of Seattle stated that the lake bed sediments in Copco and Iron Gate lakes are 78% clay. It's important to note that clay is the smallest and stickiest of any sediment class, making it impossible for aquatic life to exchange oxygen through their gills when a large amount is suspended into the water column, such as what is happening on the Klamath River. The sticky clay suspended into the water column sticks to the gills of aquatic life, essentially suffocating them. Oh boy. So there was emotional testimony, which was heard from residents who testified as having suffered insult to injury as a result of the unexpected and unintended consequences of Klamath River Renewal Corporation's dam removal project, in addition to the corporation's apparent lack of consideration, collaboration, transparency. That was according to testimony from several tearful citizens living on and around the now drained, sediment-filled lakes and the Klamath River. Look, this is not people just being incompetent. This is not people not knowing what they're doing. This is government destroying all your access to food, to water, and unfortunately, literally making your environment even more poisonous. And, you know, encouraging people not to move below reservoirs or move out, as a whole lot of people say, well, they can just move. No, people can't just move anymore. And moving is an enormous stress. Even if you can afford to move, it is enormously stressful at a very stressful time that we are all living. So a detailed report on the lake bed sediment and water study from Smith Clearwater Sciences from 2009-2011, that report shows varied levels of several toxic heavy metals and other organic toxins like dioxin, DDT, and PCBs, which are known to be forever chemicals that are bioaccumulative. That report also suggests that via dilution in the waters of the Klamath River and its tributaries, the toxic impacts of some of these many toxins might be mitigated. So I've heard this, dilution is the solution to pollution. Well, it hasn't worked on many, many rivers all over the country. Looking at the tens of thousands of dump sites on land and in our rivers and oceans, we find that dilution has turned into accumulation and long-term toxic pollution. So if the actual goal of dam removal is to improve the ecology and hopefully the salmon habitat and populations in the Klamath River basin, does it make any sense whatsoever to knowingly allow any pollutants that can be mitigated to enter the river system? Of course not. And that's exactly why we are now seeing and hearing what is arguably a total cover-up of the pollutants in the lake bed sediments, which are being allowed to continually poison the Klamath River and all of the life forms therein. So, of course, you have a whole lot of people who are pro, a lot of people who are against. You've got CEOs who's going to be making quite a bit of money. The scientists contradict what these public-private partnerships. All right. Mark Branson, CEO of the Klamath River Renewal Corporation, continues to argue there are no toxins in the estimated 15 million cubic yards of sediments now remaining in the lake beds of Copco and Iron Gate lakes. Scientists that complied the Smith study suggest that the numerous toxins they found in the lake bed sediments might be mitigated to some extent, or another based on the theory via dilution. The drawdown plan that the corporation, the Klamath River Renewal Corporation, had shared with county officials said that it would take place over the course of a couple of months, but instead they did the drawdown in a matter of a few days, releasing 5 million cubic yards of polluted sediments into the Klamath River. This off-plan action effectively killed billions of aquatic life forms in the Klamath River, including native organisms and fish, and is still adversely impacting terrestrial fauna as well. There's also other dam projects that are causing an awful lot of toxins to surface and making the environment very, very unhealthy. The aftermath of the Condit Dam removal project, dust storms plagued citizens living on and around the area of the former dam removal site. Dust storms, well, you remove all of the water and you're going to have an awful lot of dust that's going to be flying around in the atmosphere, and you're going to be breathing it in. Just by itself, silicosis is a serious health hazard recognized by the American Heart and Lung Association. So now add to that an even smaller particle, clay, that has a toxin attached going into the lungs of your family and your pets. The impact of this kind of dust, clay plus toxin, will also adversely impact livestock and wildlife. So the Klamath River is now arguably the river of death, due to the magnitude and scale of the death of aquatic life forms as never seen in any river on the west coast of the United States before. Isn't this great? I will put the link in it. If you are in California, if you know of people in California, please circulate this information. Oh, and Restoring Balance, the Klamath River Renewal Project. You can hear how great their work is if you want to listen. It's really very sad. This is a death planet for sure. Deadly lung disease cases surged to 10-year high. Children most affected. U.S. cases of tuberculosis, a deadly infectious disease that typically strikes the lungs, have soared to their highest level in a decade, and the largest increase is among children. Those coming across the border, a whole lot have tuberculosis. Children going into the schools. Good job. And welcome to Toronto. I really didn't know that Toronto's mass transportation system looks like New York.
Next stop, Green Street.
It's not hard to see all of this destruction. Certainly not hard, to just give it a chance. Consider that this kind of destruction may very well be deliberate, that they are bringing Western countries down to their knees. And here, we antagonized Putin so he would invade Ukraine. I mean, how many times do people... I just... All right, I'll play it. It's so... When you see facts and you circulate the facts and you include the facts in these videos, and so many others keep doing it as well, and we get nowhere.
President Putin declared in the autumn of 2021, and he actually sent a draft treaty that he wanted NATO to sign to promise no more NATO enlargement. That was what he sent us. And that was a precondition for not invade Ukraine. Of course, we didn't sign that. The opposite happened. He wanted us to sign a promise never to enlarge NATO. He wanted us to remove our military infrastructure in all allies that have joined NATO since 1997, meaning half of NATO, all the Central and Eastern Europe. We should remove NATO from that part of our alliance. Introducing some kind of E and B or second-class membership. We rejected that. So he went to war to prevent more NATO close to his borders. He has got the exact opposite. He has got more NATO presence in the eastern part of the alliance.
So here, NATO head admitting that the reason for this war is because of NATO's encroachment upon Russian borders. But when people don't want to hear that, then voila. All right, mainstream media sure does have a way of claiming that UN documents are fake when they're not. So, fake United Nations document used to spread false New World Order goals. All right, we all know that Agenda 21, Agenda 2030 is. Those are the New World Order goals. And they do want one world government, one world cashless currency, one world central bank, one world military, end of national sovereignty, end of the family unit, end of all privately owned property, government-raised children. How anybody can't see that or is not inspired to do maybe a little bit of research to find out that everything that I just read is absolutely true. Well, you're a little child and you still think that mommy and daddy government official is protecting you. Okay. Your life is changing as I speak. The whole world is changing. It's changing around you. You may not have experienced any of those changes yet, but you will soon, unfortunately. So, when I come across something like this, and I tried to find a United Nations Directive 001, the start of the New World Order, in our calendar year of 4 July 2025, I was unable. In fact, if any of you would like to try to find a United Nations on the United Nations site, this directive, I would be most appreciative. But as I read it, I thought, well, this is where it's going. So maybe some details might, even if this is not a legitimate United Nations document, it doesn't matter, because based on all of my research and based on a whole lot of others, their research, and they're posting all of the information, yes, this is where we're going. And we're going there very shortly. We're in the process. You know, we're unfortunately on a never-ending road that you can't get off. So I'm going to read some of this, and I'll put the link in. But anybody can, you know, create a PDF. I just want something more conclusive. And even in reading this document, I thought to myself, oh, well, it doesn't really read as if it really came from the United Nations. But they could have used AI. And I do remember reading years ago something very similar to this. So United Nations Directive 001, the start of the New World Order in our calendar year of 4 July 2025. In accordance with the approval of the majority of United Nations members, the following directive is in effect upon receipt and will be implemented immediately within the exception of those subjects or items that will obviously require additional time to change and or implement. All United Nations states will forthwith be known by their new name and corresponding number. Wrong there. See, I don't know. For instance, the former nation of Canada will now be known as America Area 0001. United States of America, America Area 0002. Former Central America, to include Mexico, America Central Area 0003. The remainder of the former nations of South America, America Area 0004. Former nations in New York will collectively and henceforth are to be known as Europe 0010, with a new map to delineate boundaries between Europe 0010 and Asia 0020. All new names for former nations within the various world continents are listed in the addendum to this directive. As of 17 March 2025, the former United States of America and American, I don't know, has turned over their military and police forces to United Nations for control and responsibility, and they will be disbanded or integrated into our global United Nations forces as soon as possible. Well, a lot of that has already taken place. And again, there's a whole lot of Americans who don't understand that the National Guard is no longer the National Guard, that it's been usurped by the Army, the Coast Guard, the Pentagon. And a whole lot of this reshaping, the United Nations, Agenda 2030, the handover of sovereignty, sovereign states, comes out of the United States. All right, I'm going to post the link to this, and it's only 4 pages. It's only 4 pages, but I mean, these 4 pages show you the destruction that has taken place and the destruction that is ongoing, all of what we will be experiencing. And how do they bring this about? They could easily bring it about with another World War III, nuclear war, global economic collapse. There are so many ways in which they can bring this about, and they have all of the weapons to do it. So, orders to all personnel of former federal, state, county, and local governmental entities. Commence to repaint all ships, aircraft, vehicles, military, civilian, to the United Nations blue colors. What happened? Oh, great. You have to sign up to Scrib. Yeah, all right. But it's a reshaping of everything in everybody's country. All right, this did not happen earlier, but now it's happening, and I'm so sick of this life. I can't stand the technology that we have. I am... You know, this is why I'm kind of, yeah. I seem to be rather pushing the get ourselves straight, work to see what you can do to get community, because all of this is going, understand, if this is the date, July 4th, 2025, do you know how soon that is? That's like a blink of the eye. Boom, it's here. It's, yeah, that one world government is absolutely coming in. So I'm going to put the link in again and read it. It does give a good outline of what is coming. And again, a whole lot, you know, people say there are no nuclear bombs, you know, I'm just a fear-mongering. They can simulate an awful lot, okay? They can simulate nuclear war. Yeah. And whether... this is why I've also said that you have to do your own research to get a basis, just get, you know, a foundation, a basic foundation of all of these agendas, so that when you run into things like this and you're unsure if it's a legitimate document or somebody's PDF that they decided to post on the internet, it won't really matter, because you will know as you're reading, I learned that through my research. Learned that through my research. And you'll know. Doesn't matter. This is what we're going for. FBI agent says he hassles people every day, all day long, over Facebook posts. It's just an effort to keep everybody safe and make sure nobody has any ill will. So I've been posting on Never Lose Truth, my other channel, these videos that I have found of the FBI coming to people's door. You're not in trouble. We're just here because we want to talk to you about your Facebook post, or you know, you might know somebody in a group or in your neighborhood that, you know, based on the information that you give us, you could help us out. And the FBI is no longer showing up at people's homes, you know, with their black jackets and white shirts and black ties. They are wearing sunglasses. And I read the comments, and it's really fascinating to see And it's almost like we're not on the same page in terms of the big picture of how far down we have already gone. We are living Stasi America, like Stasi Germany. That is already here. A whole lot of people think that this is just happening. No, the FBI have been knocking on doors for years. For years, based on posts. We have political prisoners in jail. January 6th is a very clear example of political prisoners in jail. Some in isolation, high security prisons, for entering the Capitol. There's so many examples afoot that you can see that we are no longer the country. And it ain't going to be brought back by Trump. Sure as hell, not Biden. I wish, but I can wish upon a star. So, did I highlight any? Yeah. So the video that I posted of a woman who had the FBI agents coming, knocking at her door, Facebook posts, which was very good in terms of what her response was. For the past week, she had made, and she's a Muslim American, American Muslim. For the past week, she has made multiple angry posts per day about the war in Gaza, referring to Israel as Israel, but none of the posts on her feed call for violence. Don't fall for their games. Our community is being watched. This is what she says. Don't fall for their games. Our community is being watched, and they are just waiting for any reason to round us up. If you're Muslim and or pro-Palestinian, consider all your media accounts, Google searches, mail, messenger, local mosques, and political events monitored. And that is true whether you're Muslim or not. It is true whether you're pro-Palestinian, pro-Israel. Everybody is being monitored, and some people are being deliberately targeted. So, and it's a real wake-up call when you begin to experience law enforcement coming after you because of your opinion. That's when you get to know life in America has changed. Changed? Wow, boy, has it changed. So Joe Biden sparks uproar over Easter Sunday declaration. Now, this declaration apparently came about in 2014. March 31st is Trans Visibility Day. Boy, LGBTQIZXY, whatever, sure gets an awful lot of special treatment. Special treatment. Embassies flying the rainbow flag. What's so special? How come we don't have a acknowledgement of Left-Handed People Day? Or acknowledgement of malignant narcissist survivors day? You want to just carve out one identity that seems to get a tremendous amount of attention, special privileges. That pisses people off. Oh, division, that's right. Carol, are you losing your mind? That's the name of the game. And going crazy. Oh, yeah. It's unbelievable. Yeah, it's true. So, that it was Easter Sunday, but why would they make this visibility, trans visibility, acknowledgement day, whatever the hell it is, so close to Easter that it could actually fall on Easter? Do you think that might have been purposeful? I do. Because they could have done it in June. Isn't that the Pride Month? Why March 31st? When there's a pretty good likelihood that it's going to fall on a Christian holiday. To piss people off? For the teams to rally their troops? Look at this, New York City Easter, 1959. New York City Easter, 2024. Big changes, don't you think? Big changes. So here, trans predator was caught. Happy Trans Day of Visibility. We see you and know what you are.
I just want to know why you're trying to meet them, and why was them trying to meet they? I mean, what's going on here? I understand.
Yeah, you don't understand.
You can go wherever you want, okay? But so can I. This is a public place. I understand you're caught. I understand the nervousness with cameras in your face, okay?
I just want you to leave me alone.
Well, look, when stuff is said like, when stuff is said the 1-year-old can learn how to get touched, the 1-year-old can do things that need to be addressed.
Just leave me alone.
And we also have you sending child to little kids.
Leave me alone.
I mean,
Leave me alone. Do you not understand?
well, if you want to call anybody, that's on you, okay? But all I want to do is have a conversation.
So leave me alone. Can you do that?
Huh?
I'm asking you to leave me alone. Can you do that?
I'm not holding you here. You can walk wherever you want, but since this space is public, so can I, okay? I mean, sent a mass video to who you thought was a 9-year-old here.
Go away.
I mean, I just want to know why.
Go away. Go away. Leave me alone. Go away.
I just want to know why you're trying to meet them, and why was them trying to meet they? I mean, what's going on here? I understand.
Yeah, you don't understand.
Sorry, but you go for children, you cannot expect sane adults not to respond. And Breaking Law enforcement are investigating after a trailer loaded with Bibles was on fire. This was Mount Juliet, Tennessee. So apparently somebody brought a trailer loaded with Bibles, which was intentionally set on fire. Church security cameras captured a man dropping off a trailer in the middle of the intersection, blocking the road into the church, and he then exited the vehicle and set fire to the entire trailer full of Bibles right in front of the church. Maybe he's working for Trump and he wants all Bibles ruined so people buy the Trump Bible. Globalists claim mass immigration helps the U.S. economy. Here's why that's a lie. Do people really need to understand why it's a lie? Do they need a lesson on why it's a lie? Do people actually think, adults, actually think that mass migration is helping the economy? It's scary. You know, I don't, in fact, my brain, its capacity has lowered. And I never thought that I was of high intelligence. But I do have logic and common sense and reasoning capabilities. which I thought all adults had. And it's scary to be living in a country when you know that something's very wrong with people's brains, because you know you're trapped in the hell that has very obviously manifested. China's president. I don't know if this translation is correct, though I don't think that this person would have tweeted this if it was just a hoax. But here, China's President Xi Jinping, while meeting U.S. corporate leaders in Beijing, said, "Don't take it the wrong way. You guys seem smart, but you keep funding utterly dumb and clownish politicians in your country. What's up with that?" In China, Tom Cotton wouldn't even be a village chief.
交流合作，最后交融，那不就你中有我，我中有你了吗？思想上也是一样，不同分歧，交流合作，最后交融，那不就你中有我，我中有你了吗？
Yeah, we are kind of a country of buffoons, clownish buffoons. All right, so asymmetric response and the perp walk to the World War III. I'm just going to read the first couple of paragraphs of this. I'll post the link to the article if you want to read. But yeah, we are definitely heading in that direction. But I thought, I don't see an awful lot of people on sites that I go to bringing in the narcissism. That is a very real factor that an awful lot of people just are either unaware of or avoid or whatever, but we're filled. Ordinary people, government officials. The narcissism is a very well spread out disease. Then you have the malignant narcissist. Very different in terms of how evil they are. And I'm glad that this was brought up on gold goats and guns. Have you ever tried to break out of the orbit of a narcissist? It's damn difficult. Their pattern of emotional abuse is designed to make you feel like the abuser, demoralizing you, sapping you of your vitality and agency. They weaponize your humanity and feed off your guilt. When you finally summon the courage to divorce yourself from them, that's when the fangs really come out. That's when their true face is revealed. And it's nothing but scorn, derision, and unfettered hatred. Narcissists don't love you. They love themselves. I'm opening this article with the quick reminder of human psychology to set the stage for this week's discussion of all things geopolitical. There ain't no art in this piece, folks. I'm too damn exhausted to craft the language. Why am I exhausted? Running behind narcissists as they perp walk us towards World War III saps the energy of even the most resilient personality. The truly malignant narcissists that think they operate the levers of power over the world have realized that we are walking away from them, and they are fucking angry. The feeling is very, very mutual. I don't know how angry they are. I do think they don't give a shit. They're about their agenda, and that's what they focus on. But as long as they got you trapped by their claws, they don't let up. Oh, they don't let up until you're dead. So, Oh, I'll do this tomorrow. It's Easter. Lay off, Carol. Okay. So Catholic news here. Catholic nun says if Donald Trump gets reelected, it's a complete act of God. Governments no longer serve God or the people. We are in a complete war between good and evil. So this nun, if Trump is elected, it was God. He wasn't selected. It was God. Oh my God.
It's an election year in the U.S. In normal times, an election is the moment when ordinary people can take back control of their nation's destiny. But these are not normal times. Across the globe, men and women are waking up to the alarming truth that governments no longer serve God or the people. And beloved, I'll interrupt to say myself that if President Trump gets in, it's a complete act of God. If Biden is not reelected, it is a complete act of God, because every scheme and every evil is out there that he would continue to be our president, as inept and evil as he is. At least done evil things. Those that surround him and advise him and even direct him, the devil is wise. And I would not put it past them to do anything. I know that recently someone has made a motion that no one should be able to vote who cannot prove U.S. citizenship. I totally agree with that. But there are those in the Democratic Party who do not. So we are up against not just an election, but an absolute war for good against good and evil. It's an election.
And Trump is the good, and Biden is the evil. USA, USA, USA. Oh, please. Do you see how people are being set up? The division, and so much for that separation of church and state. Bring in one religion into this. One. Christianity. I'll post a link to Jesus Wept. If you want to read that article, it's I'm going to keep it open. Very good. Written by a lifelong evangelical Christian and a military brat who grew up in a succession of Southern Baptist churches and schools. I am no stranger to seeing anger and faith co-mingled. I was angry myself with my parents for dragging me to church 17 times a week. If God wanted us to be in this house that often, I reasoned, he'd have outfitted it with bunk beds and a taco bar with all the fixings, including freshly made guac. I saw the anger in my church chums who joined Karate for Christ. Breaking boards for the Lord. We're a melting pot of an awful lot of people who have different beliefs, and bringing in only one causes an awful lot of division and anger. So, I want to thank the very few who actually did come over and give Vanessa some support. She just recently, within day 180, so what is that, 6 months? Her dog died, a dog of 17 years. And this was a day that she was hurting. So I asked people to come over and just drop her a comment of support. Very few did, and I want to thank you all that did. It's important. Really important. Vanessa, I hope you're feeling better, for sure. Now, were you impacted?
Today, 73 million people had their data exposed in a cyber attack, in a leak that has taken place, and now their information is out there on the dark web. This has impacted 73 million people. I'm going to give you the latest information as cell phone users' data has been compromised. And this is today, March 30th, 2024. This has just been released this Saturday that this has taken place. I'm going to be giving you the latest details on this, as they're saying information including your name, date of birth, your address, social security number, an assortment of different things have been compromised. 73 million people, that's nearly 25% of the nation's population, has been hit from this cell phone carrier that has just been compromised. This is breaking news that has just come out again today, March 20th, 2024. So I'm going to give you
I will post a link to this. Any of you have AT&T? All of these data breaches, and they're claiming hackers are doing it. Perhaps governments could also be doing it to collect all of the information. Whatever foreign government, China, Russia, whomever. Just collecting all of the information that they need on you to keep you trapped, discarded, eventually. All right, I'm going to play several minutes of this important information. Putin issues devastating warning to NATO and U.S. When you think about all of the warmongering and the outright war talk of World War III, the official declaration, we're in it already. Oh, it started a long time ago. But it is definitely, well, the conventional and unconventional, because they use unconventional weapons, for sure. It's growing. Country after country after country. So, other countries being threatened, all of the military exercises taking place, and we have our military personnel all over the world. How many are here to protect and defend Americans?
Actually covering this bombshell story. I'm surprised the mainstream media is totally ignoring this story. The rest of the media is distracted by P. Diddy's homes being raided.
And we are learning more about the sex trafficking raids on mansions belonging to Sean Diddy Combs.
Something, though, much bigger happened this week in the Red Sea that almost got no attention at all. Russia and NATO are going to war. In fact, it's already underway, and it's not happening in Ukraine specifically. So we'll get to that in a second. But first, at the precise moment a cyber attack was being carried out on a bridge in Baltimore, shutting down one of America's most important port cities, Russia announced that the United States and the UK were actively involved in the terror attack on a Moscow theater. Say what? Really? You mean to tell me the CIA funneled millions of dollars in cryptocurrency into Ukraine to fund this operation? Get out of here. Really? You mean the same CIA that assassinated President Kennedy and had Richard Nixon overthrown would do something this nefarious? I can't believe it for a second. Oh, wait, yes, I can. Yes, I do.
We spoke to someone who had access to these still hidden CIA documents, a person who was deeply familiar with what they contain. We asked this person directly, did the CIA have a hand in the murder of John F. Kennedy, an American president? And here's the reply we received verbatim. Quote, the answer is yes. This is someone with direct knowledge of the information that once again is being withheld from the American public. And the answer we received was unequivocal. Yes, the CIA was involved in the assassination of the president.
Colonel McGregor, former Pentagon advisor to the Secretary of Defense, told me this week that the CIA was 100% behind the attack in Moscow. CIA and MI6 are actively involved in this terror plot inside of Moscow. What is the goal for the intelligence community in Washington, do you think?
Well, the CIA has been a rogue organization for a long time. Some people say it went rogue in the 60s. The Russian people are infuriated. They're angry. They want blood. The emotions in Russia are running very, very high.
So Russian investigators said Thursday, quote, investigators have verified information that large amounts of money in cryptocurrency that the perpetrators of the terrorist attack received traced back to Ukraine. The funds were used in preparing the crime. This was done with the help of the United States and the UK. So the US and the UK helped carry out a massive terror attack in Moscow that killed 140 people. And almost simultaneously, a massive cargo ship carrying hundreds of thousands of pounds of hazardous chemicals slams into a Baltimore bridge, closing down the port for months, if not years to come. Some estimates have 5 years. And we learned yesterday that the Pentagon has a number of important fast response ships that are now stuck in the harbor. They can't move. And we need these in case of wars. I love a good coincidence. The NTSB confirmed that they recovered the black box, and 2 minutes of vital information was missing.
At 0124 and 59 seconds, numerous audible alarms were recorded on the ship's bridge audio. About the same time, VDR sensor data ceased recording.
Yeah, only the 2 minutes that we need. Gone, never recorded. Journalist Laura Logan says her sources in the Biden intel agencies have confirmed this was a cyber terror attack.
Why are you coming to the mic telling the country that it's not terrorism when your own intelligence agencies are telling you it is? And I know they are, because I didn't make this up. These are not my words, right? I'm talking to people who are on the inside, some who are on active duty, some who are retired, and everyone, literally, from critical infrastructure in Department of Homeland Security to the intelligence agencies, they know there's no other. This is a cyber attack on a critical infrastructure corridor for the United States.
Yes, all of this is happening right now. But of course, the mainstream media is ignoring it. The Today Show is running segments about spring cleaning your house.
We're back 8:13 with today's spring cleanup.
Yes, shit is hitting the fan, and they can't hide it anymore. We are at war, and nowhere is that more apparent, of course, than the Red Sea between Russia and France. Russia threatening France that if you send troops to Ukraine as you're planning to do, this will bring death and destruction to France. Their words, not mine. So this week, Russia sent a number of massive warships into the Red Sea for the first time. This was in direct response to France. If you want to watch, by the way, how a desperate, failing country drags the rest of us into World War III, look no further than France. President Macron, over the past few weeks, has grown desperate to save France, threatening Russia. Why is he doing this? What's going on here? Well, let's look at Africa and a story that no one is covering. France once owned Africa for generations. France controlled and exploited the vast natural resources of African countries. France is only able to exist as a modern superpower if they're able to plunder uranium, lithium, gold, silver, tin, and all sorts of precious minerals from Africa. If they can't plunder it, then they are finished. More than any other country in the world, France depends on uranium to power their nuclear power plants. Almost 70% of their power comes from nuclear. And all of their uranium is plundered from Niger in Africa. A few years ago, the cracks started to emerge. Coups across former French colonies broke out, most recently, Niger, Congo, and more, saying we're done with France and the puppet governments that you've installed in our countries that rape our country and send cheap minerals to France. Get out of our countries. Let us keep our...
I will post the link. You can listen to the remaining 8 minutes of important information. For sure. Don't think that this is fear-mongering. Don't think that this isn't going to be happening. It will. Now, I have been... Since I'm back on Never Lose Truth, I have my subscriptions back. This is Full Spectrum Survival. I will post the link. Oh, I think this is my watch later, so gotta get it. And You know, regardless of how people deliver the message, it's the message that's most important. I say that because an awful lot of people have criticisms about how people deliver a message. It's the message that is the most important, not how they deliver it. So, worse than you could imagine, something big is going down. Absolutely.
Out there sending a warning across the United States of America. They say that very soon 1 out of every 2 people in our country will be clinically depressed. They're saying there's going to be a massive increase in the prescriptions needed for antipsychotics, antidepressants, things like SSRIs, and that the entire country, 50% of it, is going to be medicated in one form or another. Now, let me tell you, this means that we are entering into that age where doctors, physicians, science, they are just covering up what is really happening. We should actually be helping people, and a lot of what we're experiencing is because the citizens of the United States of America have been broken by the government, the way of life, the cost of living, by everything that is happening out here. According to the Federal Reserve, and this is a little bit more about how they are breaking us, the Federal Reserve's Jerome Powell says the economy is not suffering. Now, how can they stand up there and say this? Let me tell you, it's because if your hand has an infection, but your body is fine, a doctor will look at you and he'll say your body or your organs are fine. That's all that matters really, is your organs. And that's why when you get something like sepsis and it finally makes its way into your bloodstream, into your organs, that's when you finally croak. So when they're looking at the economy of the United States of America, they're not looking at you, gangrenous finger. They're not looking at your busted toe, your broken leg. They're not looking at your hernia. They're not looking at anything else. All they're caring about is the organs, and the organs of the United States of America are the military-industrial complex, the debt that we are working towards threatening other countries with, the United States dollar as it stands right now, and the corporations from massive amounts of checks every single quarter from. That's what they care about. That's the organs. So when they're looking at 1 out of every 2 people being clinically depressed in the next couple of years, this is exactly why. Now, Federal Reserve, the Jerome Powell, the chairman there, says that they had some real bombshells. This is according to reports to drop, with another quote from Powell that says commercial real estate will be a problem for years to come. Now, these organizations, the federal government, they all know that we're looking at a 5 to 7, maybe even a 9 to 10 year downward spiral. That is if we don't see a major black swan event. I'm not talking like that bridge that's going to affect our supply chain. I'm not talking like even a Russian encroachment on some other territories that aren't NATO driven. I'm talking about something that everybody says, no, that couldn't happen. A major black swan would be a new biological threat to our entire planet. It would be a nuclear event that draws the other countries into nuclear war.
Okay. The link to that video. You can listen to the remainder. I wouldn't take any of what we are hearing lightly. The meltdown of commercial real estate. It's happening. It's happening. The Tower of Saran can't pay its debt. And who was it? Silverstein. What the hell was his first name? You know, Larry Silverstein's building. Oh my God. And these people, you know, they just say, well, I'm going to default on a loan. And they never really suffer any consequences. The tallest building in Brooklyn, foreclosure. Larry Silverstein. So I said, pull it, Larry Silverstein. And frankly, pull it on the whole country. So I received this from a subscriber, which, yeah. The anxious generation? Yeah. So I will post the link to the article if you want to read it. But it's clear that I think every succeeding generation has just become more and more anxious. This is a book, The Anxious Generation, How the Great Rewiring of Childhood is Causing an Epidemic of Mental Illness. New York University social psychologist Jonathan Haidt argues that the transition from a play-based childhood, when we're out playing, to a phone-based childhood has been an epochal disaster for the cognitive and social development of young people. Previously written or co-written provocative articles, some of his titles, Why the Past 10 Years of American Life Have Been Uniquely Stupid, and books like The Coddling of the American Mind. Yeah. It really was, when I saw all of these kids going to school with their own individual phone, that a whole lot were actually using in the classrooms, I knew, we're done. We're done. You know, there is no hope for this country anymore. Zionist rabbi calls for Jews to destroy churches. We must purify the non-Jews.
Even if the United States government would say, okay, hey, you're becoming too fanatic, the government, too religious, we'll give you $1 billion extra every year to the aid, don't touch the churches. We're not allowed to listen to them. God comes before Obama and his friends. You understand? I'm telling you what the laws are. If we are strong enough to do it one day, I doubt it. All place in the world that we will occupy in a war, Milchemet Mitzvah, we go to a war, we occupy. Let's say we occupy Lebanon. And over there, there's idol worshipping places. We have the same obligation to destroy it. Why? Because now we live there. We occupy the place. We occupy the place. The Torah say, "Uviar ta'ara mikirbecha." Don't leave anything, any idols among you. So every place that you live in, and now you the original owner of the place now, you the new owner, I should say, from now on, you have the same obligation to purify the place from all the idols. Because it's against the Torah. Remember, it's not what's good for me or not.
Well, that's his interpretation of the Torah. But a whole lot of Jews do not have that interpretation. This is a murderous, psychopathic nut job. I don't care what religion he is. Look, there's just no way of saying anything differently. What are you guys doing? You're not fighting, are you? Or trying to play, maybe? Holocaust survivor.
My name is Renee Lichtman. I'm a Holocaust survivor. I think we're committing war crimes in Gaza, and we should fight back in any way that we can. There are parallels to what the Nazis did. The Nazi plan was, if you can starve them, that's fine, or diseases. And the Israelis are very conscious of that, and they're proud. They brag about all that stuff.
Tell us about your own history.
I was born 37. Poland was invaded in 39. My father joined the French army, and he was killed. My family members were taken to different death camps.
You compared the Israeli siege on Gaza to the Warsaw Ghetto. Can you elaborate on that?
The Palestinian people have been oppressed and humiliated since 1948. And they've been in these concentration camp with guards all around them their whole lives. The Warsaw Ghetto fighters were these young people. They were all socialists. They were all on the left. They were very conscious They were going to die in the Warsaw Ghetto, and they were going to take some with them. And I'm sure that was the philosophy of a lot of the Hamas people.
I'd like you to address the slander that opposition to Israel is anti-Semitism.
What there is anti-Israel sentiment, but it's called consciously to confuse the issues. It's called anti-Semitism. The real anti-Semitism comes from the right wing.
If you believe that you have witnessed enough of Israel's crimes in Gaza, you haven't.
A child would be brought in with a bullet to the face, broken mandibles. Apparently these bullets were fired not by soldiers, by a drone that looks like a small helicopter that's always there, that can come down, fly at the same level of people, talk to them, asks people to, evacuate a certain place or walk a certain route. One of the surgeons reflected that he hasn't seen such type of bullets, one that would go in and explode inside, as opposed to an entry and exit. And the member of staff warned me not to stare at the quadcopter, otherwise I'll be shot at. It tends to shoot at the face, at the head. This device wants to kill, there's no doubt about this. The ones we've seen, the ones who've survived, are lucky that they had their mandible broken or half of the face blown, but they remained alive. The rest were killed. In the cases I've looked after, mostly children playing, I could only come to the conclusion that these drones are managed by a man, a human from a distance. This is simply the Israeli army physically present, without having to be physically present. The injury is intended. In fact, the intention is to strike fear and kill.
Yes, so I have heard that the IDF has been experimenting with weapons, just like the American soldiers experiment with weapons in Iraq. But think about that, drones, shooting bullets that explode inside, remotely controlled. Haven't you seen any of those movies or television shows of the dystopia in America, where they have drones that literally descend upon a person they want to kill and boom? So, White House approves transfer to Israel of more bombs and jets worth billions. Yeah. All that good talk of, well, I've been trying to get Netanyahu to stop killing so many civilians. Talk. Sending over 25 F-35 fighter jets and the highly controversial 2,000-pound bombs, which have been known to kill indiscriminately in Gaza. The new arms package includes more than 1,800 Mk-84 2,000-pound bombs and 500 Mk-82 500-pound bombs. You think it's just the IDF over there killing? If there's killing to be done on this planet, you can bet there's an American there. 2,000-pound bombs have been linked to previous mass casualty events. The New York Times investigation in December concluded that Israel has been using 2,000-pound bombs supplied by the United States on Gaza neighborhoods on a routine basis. The Pentagon has said it almost never uses these types of weapons in densely populated urban areas anymore because of the likelihood of large-scale civilian casualties. So why are you sending them over to Israel for the IDF to use. Yeah. Biden is still concerned. 2,000-pound bombs have been dropped on Gaza, and even inside declared safe zones in the south, some hundreds of times. Wow, how do you even comprehend the evil that is taking place today? Airstrikes continue in Gaza as tens of thousands of Israelis protest.
Some call Jerusalem the city of God, others the center of the world. But on the day when Christians celebrate the resurrection of Christ, it was largely deserted. From the Stations of the Cross to the souvenir stands, the pilgrims have stayed away.
Normally you can't move in the city during the Easter season. It's packed with pilgrims. People come from all over the world. And now there's practically no one. You could get into the Holy Sepulchre every time you wanted. Since October, you go in there and you just walk straight into the empty tomb, which is normally never the case.
The site of Jesus' empty tomb is the holiest place in Christendom. And the Patriarch arrived in a procession to deliver his Easter message. In this time of turmoil, a new spirit is required. But there were few here to listen.
This is the religious experience of a lifetime that many people have decided not to make this year. But there are thousands of Palestinian Christians who did want to be here, but they weren't given the travel permits by the Israeli authorities. And that is one reason why it feels so empty in here.
But the sound of war soon featured just 60 miles away. An airstrike smacked into a number of tents near a hospital in central Gaza. In familiar scenes, the bloodied bodies of the victims were carried or crawled into the emergency room. The Israelis called it a targeted attack on a post belonging to the militia Islamic Jihad. This Easter hasn't been easy for the region's Anglican Archbishop, who leads a small Christian community in Gaza. He's in daily contact and says he knows their pain.
Some people would write to me and they say, we are the living dead. We are without food. We are so afraid. We don't know what to do. We are helpless, but it's only God who is protecting us.
The Anglican-run hospital, Al-Ali, was hit in October by a blast that killed 200 people. The hospital chapel, well, it's now used as a ward. But the Archbishop believes the conflict will be resolved one day. That's not something this group necessarily agrees with. Tens of thousands gathering in Jerusalem, calling on the Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, to resign. Their confidence in him as Prime Minister, as the man to bring back the hostages, has gone. Although Netanyahu told a press conference he felt sorry for the families of hostages held in Gaza.
Netanyahu said his heart breaks for the families of the hostages.
Yeah. I think a person that has so much power and has had so much power for so long, I don't believe a single word that he says.
And does he really have a heart? German bank freezes the account of the Jewish anti-Zionist group Jewish Voice for a Just Peace in the Middle East. Germany. Wow. You're really going to the right or the left, or it's, opposite of what well, they're Jews, but I don't understand. Oh, I fully understand. Freezes the account of the Jewish anti-Zionist group Jewish Voice for the Just Peace in the Middle East. God forbid you should want peace, right? You get slammed. We're living on a psychopathic, malignant, narcissistic planet. And yeah, there are still places in the world, Asian countries for sure, where you see normalcy. Not so much in the West anymore. North African immigrant makes his son urinate on an Italian police car. What a fabulous father. Asylum seekers have just arrived illegally in Spain and show their intentions.
Anan si cross wangal passport wangal
visa
oja wajipo maudo anan si cross wangal.
On Resurrection Sunday, El Paso Magistrate Judge Humberto Acosta has ordered the release of the illegal aliens accused of the border riot. So, I'll put the link in if you want to check it out. Excuse me one moment. Sorry. Oh, many coyotes tonight I've seen, making me feel very nervous. And what time is it? 6:43. I'm just going to play 5 minutes of this. Why democracy leads to tyranny. Democracy. It's such a amorphous concept that people don't even really get that we're not a democracy. We weren't supposed to be a democracy, but it sure does lead to tyranny. And once again, Academy of Ideas brings it on home. The link is in the chat, and here we go. 17 minutes long, but well worth the listen and well worth the circulate.
Remember, democracy never lasts long. It soon wastes, exhausts, and destroys itself. It is in vain to say democracy is less proud, less selfish, less ambitious, or less avaricious than aristocracy or monarchy. It is not true, in fact, and nowhere appears in history. Those passions are the same in all men under all forms of simple government, and when unchecked, produce the same effects of fraud, violence, and cruelty. In every age, there is a set of beliefs that are elevated to a sacred status, and questioning them is deemed heretical. For centuries, it was the dogmas of Christianity that possessed this status. Today, it is the dogma of the democratic state. Democracy, as currently practiced, is the greatest form of government, and anyone who denies this commits blasphemy, or so we are taught. But just as much of the Christian dogma was a veil to protect the power of the Church, the same can be said about democracy. Democracy, with its political campaigns, elections, and the illusion of rule by the people, is a veil behind which politicians and bureaucrats parasitically enrich themselves, while imposing their corruptive vision of society on the rest of us. In this video, we explore some of the fatal flaws of modern democracy and explain how instead of promoting social flourishing, it has given rise to a form of soft totalitarianism. Conceived as the foundation of liberty, modern democracy paves the way for tyranny. Born for the purpose of standing as a bulwark against power, it ends by providing power with the finest soil it has ever had in which to spread itself over the social field. There are many institutions that are necessary for a free and prosperous society. These include free markets, the division of labor, a rule of law that promotes order and trust, strong families, sound money, a school system that educates instead of indoctrinates, and a robust media that pursues the truth instead of spreading propaganda. If a democracy preserves these institutions, then one can claim that it is a form of political organization conducive to social harmony. But if a democracy continually produces governments that destroy these institutions, then the value of democracy must be questioned. Across the globe, the governments of most democracies are doing the latter. From the family unit to schooling, the media, free markets, sound money, or the rule of law, politicians and bureaucrats are actively destroying, or at least severely corrupting, these institutions. Why is this? What are the flaws of modern-day democracies that are leading it to manifest such corrupt governments? To answer this question, we must distinguish between two types of democracy: direct democracy and indirect democracy. A direct democracy involves citizens casting votes on specific issues, usually by means of a referendum. In a direct democracy, majority rules. Whether one views this form of political organization in a positive or negative light will usually depend on if one belongs to the majority or minority. Those in the majority tend to believe that direct democracy.
Yeah, this is the latest iteration of internet disruption that I've been experiencing. Once it starts circling, and I'm sure you all know, in the past, it would circle for a couple of seconds and then play through. Now, it circles and circles and circles. Then it plays, then it circles. Then it plays. Let's see if it'll play.
Democracy is a good system, as it leads to the satisfaction of their wants, while those in the minority often feel that direct democracy is nothing more than a tyranny of the masses. Democracy is two wolves and a lamb voting on what they are going to have for lunch, Benjamin Franklin famously remarked. While the 19th century British politician Oberon Herbert had this to say concerning the morality of a direct democracy. 5 men are in a room. Because 3 men take one view and 2 another, have the 3 men any moral right to enforce their view on the other 2 men? What magical power comes over the 3 men that because they are 1 more in number than the 2 men, therefore they suddenly become possessors of the minds and bodies of these others? As long as they were 2 to 2, so long we supposed each man remained master of his own mind and body. But from the moment that another man, acting heaven only knows from what motives, has joined himself to one party or the other, that party has become straightway possessed of the souls and bodies of the other party. Was there ever such a degrading and indefensible superstition? A tyranny of the masses, however, is not the most serious threat facing the West, as we live in indirect democracies which render most people politically impotent, and the power of the masses relatively negligible. In an indirect or representational democracy, we vote for politicians who are then, in theory, supposed to represent our interests. But how representational democracy should work in theory is not how it works in practice. In almost all democratic countries, a small number of political candidates are pre-selected by a handful of political parties that monopolize each country's political system, and from these candidates we vote for the ones we prefer, or at least dislike the least. Once elected, far from being forced to represent the interests of the majority, politicians can, and frequently do, serve their own interests. Or as Frank Karsten and Carol Beckman note in their book Beyond Democracy, it is not the will of the people, but the will of politicians, prompted by groups of professional lobbyists, interest groups, and activists, that reigns in a democracy.
The link is in the chat. One more time. Academy of Ideas. You can watch the end of this video, but the constitutional republic was by far, if you're going to have a government, have the government that was founded, that was actually founded by the founders, that gave the power to the individual endowed with inalienable rights. Constitutional republic, the states have more power than the federal government. Doesn't have centralized power. I mean, it was in the 90s, I believe, might have been the late 80s, that I heard every politician refer to our country as a democracy. And I thought, this is weird. Why is everybody calling this country a democracy? Because they wanted the stupid Americans to get that they weren't a constitutional republic. And well, whether Benjamin Franklin said it or not, I founded a constitutional republic if you can keep it. Yeah, well, we didn't. So now as individuals, we have to do the work on ourselves. We've got to get out into our communities and help one another, especially those in need. Bring your best self to life, and sometimes that can look pretty shitty. But if it's the best, and you know that it's the best, and you ain't bullshitting yourself about it being the best, then that's what you do. Live honestly and speak honestly. I think Jesus did that. Live honestly and speak honestly. And on that note, thank you for showing up, and I hope to see you tomorrow night. Stay safe. Awareness always of your surroundings. Yeah. Good night. Good luck. Ciao, guys.